So let's start the next interview with an excerpt from our guest's recent op-ed on the tragedy unfolding in Israel and Gaza. South Africans have been swamped with videos, petitions, and I'm paraphrasing, marches to add to their already heavy load of political and economic burdens. Teenagers and students on campuses are being asked to take a side, to stand for Palestine or to stand for Israel. Standing for peace is not an option. Jews who have never visited Israel in their lives are being asked to defend its government. Muslims are assumed to have supported the rape of women, murder of babies, and capturing of civilians on the 1st of October. Rabbi Greg Alexander, described as a teacher and student of peace, joins me now, and he works with the Cape Town Progressive Jewish Congregation. Welcome to the program, Rabbi Alexander. Why do you believe that it is possible for people who are divided and opinionated to really see the pain and suffering of the other if they believe the other is responsible for their pain and suffering?
It's a great question, Iman. I think that everyone in the world right now is being asked to respond to what's going on in Israel, Gaza, Palestine, the West Bank. The problem that I see is that the range of responses and the tools that are given to people are very limited. They tend to be very angry. They tend to be posting on social media, marching under banners that are calling for revenge or justice or essentially more violence, which, as far as I can see, is re-traumatizing the world. And especially what I mentioned in the op-ed piece is those who are teenagers in schools, those who are students on campus, who are being asked to defend or answer for a situation that they did not create. So I was moved to write the op-ed because I feel like there needs to be a different way that we can respond, not the only way, but to give us more tools in our toolbox for responding to what is going on in the Middle East right now.
You ask a powerful series of questions in your piece. Where do I turn? How can I respond to these cries for justice and so on? If people did as you ask, stop, halted calls for revenge and cries for justice and listened, what do you think they would hear?
I think that this conflict has been spiraling, circling for decades, and really what has not happened is a solution that goes forward and creates peace for everybody that's concerned. If listening was the start of the conflict, if people were actually trying to hear what the other what is at stake for the other and what is at risk for the other, and was willing to communicate in a non-violent way what it is that they're looking for, essentially there is everything that is possible, that is necessary for peace there. All it takes is the right people around the table at the right time to agree and sign off on it. So I understand that there are global politics, and I can't change global politics. I'm not a global leader. But I can talk about what we can do right here locally. And what I'm suggesting is that I'm not saying that we can't stand for something. I'm not saying that people can't stand for Israel or stand for Palestine. But what I am saying is that primarily we want to stand for humanity. We want to stand for peace. We want to stand for right and for justice. And in order to stand for that, we need to stop and listen. What is the other, that person that is not me, that's not listening to my media, that's not in my silo? What is that person saying? Because I might think that I disagree with them, but I might also be surprised by how much we're actually saying the same thing. Maybe in different language, but we are really, I think, essentially asking for the same thing. We're asking for civilians to not be targeted. We're saying civilians can't be hostages. People who are going about their daily life cannot be captured and taken. That's not okay. Civilians can't be bombed in a war. That's not okay. And there needs to be a global coming together of leadership that negotiates a solution for peace.
Rabbi, in these dying minutes of our interview, and I really wish we did have more time for this because I think it is an important conversation, in a context that is complex? How do you proactively choose humanity in a situation so deeply polarized? And having these conversations in a context where there is so much urgency on the table, you have senior leaders in the world who are saying what we're witnessing is a genocide taking place in front of our very eyes. These conversations, while well-meaning, the empathy and the call for humanity, while well-meaning, don't resolve the issue of justice, and they don't do anything in the immediate for people whose lives are on the line and who are at risk of dying in this moment.
Absolutely. So my article is written to every person that's reading the Daily Maverick or that's listening to this interview. And that's to say that instead of tearing flags, instead of calling for more war and for more violence, why don't we stop and say, what is it exactly that you're asking for? That sounds reasonable to me. Can you hear what I'm asking for? That sounds reasonable too. Maybe we need to talk. In South Africa, Jews and Muslims have no reason to fight with each other. There's absolutely no reason. We're cousins. We both descend from Abraham. We come from Ishmael and Isaac. We're family. We can sit down and we can talk. And when we do, when we realize that we have pain, that we have trauma, that we have relatives and family and friends who are impacted violently every day in this conflict, I hope that we can move past the hatred to solutions.
Do you see this as the real victory in this moment, that perhaps even as civil society movements, and we've seen them the world over in many of the world's capitals, people supporting either side, as you say, but none of that really has any impact on a political or diplomatic resolution? What is the net effect of the empathy, the understanding, the seeing of the other that you're proposing?
Iman, I'm a religious person. I believe in the power of intention. I would believe in the power of prayer as well. I believe that the energy that we put out into the world has an impact. If we're putting out calls for vengeance and hatred, that has impact. We are created in the divine image to be co-creators of the world. So when the language that we bring to this world, just like God created the world with language, God said, let there be light, boom, there was light. We use language and it creates worlds. What world are we trying to create? What world are we teaching to our children? A world of hate? A world of vengeance? A world of killing? Is that the world we want to create? Language creates worlds. Let's create worlds that we want to see with our language. Let's speak it into being. That's the power that we have.
Rabbi Greg Alexander, thank you very much for stopping by and sharing your thoughts with us. Just reflecting on that op-ed that he wrote, calling for a cessation of calls for vengeance and all sorts of things, sitting down at a table to hear and to listen from a different point of view.